Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devam Gauravani Pacharni Nivasesha Sunyari Paschacha Deshatarni. You may have noticed I said Devam instead of Deve.
Is Jiva in and out?
I'm in and out?
I don't know if it's just for me or for others too.
Oh.
I hear you fine.
Okay, it's on the screen so we can get started. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. The personality of Godhead is perfect and complete, and because he is completely perfect, all emanations from him, such as this phenomenal world, are perfectly equipped as complete wholes. Whatever is produced of the complete whole is also complete in itself. Because he is the complete whole, even though so many complete units emanate from him, he remains the complete balance. Mantra 1. Ishavashyamidam sarvam yatkincha
jagatyam jagat tena tyaktena bhunjita magrabakasya svidhanam. Everything animate or inanimate that is within the universe is controlled and owned by the Lord. One should therefore accept only those things necessary for himself, which are set aside as his quota, and one should not accept other things, knowing well to whom they belong.
Mantra 2. Kurvanevaha karmani jiva shechchatam samaha evam twainanyate tosti na karma lipyate nare.
One may aspire to live for hundreds of years, but if he continuously goes on working in that way, for that sort of work will not bind him to the law of karma. There is no alternative to this way for man.
Mantra 3. Asurya nama te loka andena tamasabrita tamste precha bigajanti ye ke chatmahano janaha.
The killer of the soul, whoever he may be, must enter into the planets known as the world of faithless, full of darkness and ignorance.
Mantra 4. Anijarikam manaso javio naina deva apnuvam purvam arshat tadhavatonyan architeti tistat tasminapo matari dadati.
Although fixed in his abode, the personality of God is, it's swifter than the mind and can overcome all others running. The powerful demigod cannot approach him. Although in one place, he controls those who supply the air and rain. He surpasses all in excellence.
Number 5. Tad ejati, tad naijati, tad dure, tad vantike, tad antarasya sarvasya, tadu sarvasya shabhayataha.
The Supreme Lord walks and does not walk. He's far away, but he's very near as well. He's within everything, and yet he is outside of everything.
Mantra 6. Yastu sarvani bhutani atmani evanupashyati sarva bhuteshu chatmanam tato navi jagupsate.
He who sees everything in relation to the Supreme Lord, who sees all living entities as his parts and parcels, and who sees the Supreme Lord within everything, never hates anything or any being.
Mantra 7. Yasmin sarvani bhutani atmaiva bhudvijanataha tatrako mohaka shoka ekatvam anupashyataha.
One who always sees all living entities as spiritual sparks, in quality one with the Lord, becomes a true knower of things. What then can be illusion or anxiety for him?
Mantra 8. Saparya Jatshukram Akayam Avrinam Varsnaviram Shudham Apapavyadham Kavir Manishi Paripu Swayambhur Yatat Yatotoridan Vyadadach Chasvatibhya Samabhyaha.
Such a person must factually know the greatest of all, the personality of Godhead, who is unembodied, omniscient, beyond reproach, without veins, pure and uncontaminated, the self-sufficient philosopher who has been fulfilling everyone's desire since time immemorial.
Mantra 9. Andham tama pravishanti ye vidyam upasate tato bhuya eva te tamo ya uvidyayam rataha.
Those who engage in the culture of Nescian activities shall enter into the darkest region of ignorance. Worse still are those engaged in the culture of so-called knowledge.
Mantra 10. Anyad eva hur vidyaya, anyad ahur avidyaya, iti shushuma yenas tad vichachakshire.
The wise have explained that one result is derived from the culture of knowledge, and that a different result is obtained from the culture of nescience.
Mantra 11. Vidyam chayas tad vedo bayam saha avidyayamritum tirtva vidyayamritam ashnute. Only one who can learn the process of nescience and that of transcendental knowledge side by side can transcend the influence of repeated birth and death and enjoy the full blessings of immortality. Mantra 12. Tandham tamak pravishanti ye sambhutim upasate tato bhuya eva te tamo ya usambhutyam rataha.
Those who are engaged in the worship of demigods enter into the darkest region of ignorance, and still more so do the worshippers of the impersonal absolute.
Impersonal absolute.
Mantra 13. Anyad evahu sambhavad, anyad ahura sambhavat, iti shushumadhiranam yenastad vichachakshire.
It is said that one result is obtained by worshipping the supreme cause of all causes, and the another result is obtained by worshipping what is not supreme. All this is heard from the undisturbed authorities who clearly explained it.
Mantra 14. Sambhutim cha vinasham cha yastad vedo bayam saha vinashenamritum tirtva sambhutyamritam ashnute.
One should know perfectly the personality of Godhead Sri Krishna and his transcendental name, form, qualities, and pastimes, as well as the temporary material creation with its temporary demigods, men, and animals. When one knows these, he surpasses death and the ephemeral cosmic manifestation with it, and in the eternal kingdom of the God, he enjoys his eternal life of bliss and knowledge.
Mantra 15. Aranmayena patrena satyasya pihitam mukam tattvam pushana pavrinu satya dharmaya drishtaye.
O my Lord, sustainer of all that lives, your real face is covered by your dazzling effulgence. Kindly remove that covering and exhibit yourself to your pure divinity.
Mantra 16. Pushane karshayama surya prajapatya vyuharasmin samuha tejo yate rupam kalyanaptamam tate pashamyo savaso purusha soham asmi.
O my Lord, O primeval philosopher, maintainer of the universe,
O regulating principle, destination of pure devotees, of the pure devotees, well-wisher of the progenitors of mankind, please remove the effulgence of your transcendental rays so that I can see your form of bliss. You are the eternal supreme personality of Godhead, like unto the sun as I am.
As am I.
As am I, sorry.
No problem. Mantra 17. Vayuranilam amritam atedam bhasmantam shariram om krito smara kritam smara krito smara kritam smara.
Let this temporary body be burned to ashes. Let the air of life be merged with the totality of air.
Temporary body
Now,
be
O
burned
my
to
Lord,
ash.
please remember all my sacrifices. Because you are the ultimate beneficiary, please remember all that I've done for you.
Mantra 18.
Agnenaya supataraye asman Vishvani deva vayunani vidvan Yoyodya asmashurana meno Uyishtam te nama uktim videma. O my Lord, as powerful as fire, O omnipotent one, now I offer you all obeisances, falling on the ground at your feet. O my Lord, please lead me on the right path to reach you. And since you know all that I have done in the past, please free me from the reactions to my past sins so that there will be no hindrance to my progress.
So today we are on mantra 2. Purvanevaha karmani jijiva shatam samaha evam tvai nanyate tosti na karma lipyate nare. Anyone want to chant it?
Purvan evaha karmani jijiviset chatam samaha evam trayi nanyate tosti na karma lipyate nare.
Anyone else?
Kurvan eve hakarmani jijit visechatmanam samaha evam tvayi nanyate usti na karma lipyate nare.
कुर्वन्नेवेह कर्माणि जिजीविषेच्छता समा एवं त्वयि नान्यथे तो अस्ति न कर्मं लिप्यते नरे.
कुर्वाण्येव कर्माणि जिद्विशेषसतां समः एवं त्वयननन् इति तु स्थिते न कर्म लिप्यते नरे.
Kurvan.
Purvan,
Doing continuously.
doing continuously.
Eva.
Eva,
Thus.
thus.
Iha.
Iha,
During this lifespan. This span
during
of
this
life.
span of life.
Okay. During this span of life. Karmani.
Karmani,
Work.
work.
Jijivishesh.
Jiva.
One should desire to live.
One should desire to live.
Shatam.
Shatam,
100.
100.
Samaha.
Samaha,
Years.
years.
Evam.
Evam,
So living.
so living.
Pai.
Trai,
To you.
unto you.
Na.
Na,
No.
no.
Nyata.
Anyata,
Alternative.
alternative.
Itaha.
Itaha,
From this path.
from this
From
path.
this path.
Asti.
Asti,
There is.
there is.
Na.
Na,
Not.
not.
Karma.
Karma,
Work.
work.
Ite.
Lipyate,
Can be bound.
can be bound.
Nare.
Nare,
Unto man.
unto
a man.
Translation. One may aspire to live for hundreds of years if he continuously goes on working in that way. For that sort of work will not bind him to the law of karma. There is no alternative to this way for man. So this verse is a continuation from mantra 1, the Ishavasham principle, where everything is controlled and owned by the Lord, and that we should accept our quota. And Sometimes I've heard Prabhupada give the example of if there's a bag of rice on the street, the birds and the animals will come and take what they need. But if a human sees it, he will take the bag and he'll look for more and he'll add it to his stockpile. And it was Gandhi who said that the world has enough for everyone's needs, but not everyone's greed. So Prabhupada always says that there's no shortage. See the animals, they're all eating enough. Why we see a shortage or famine is because we're disconnected from the source. Krishna is the richest person and he can provide everything for everyone. But if we disconnect from him, then we will see shortage, famine, things like that. So let's read the purport. Purport. No one wants to die, and everyone wants to live as long as he can drag on. This tendency is not only visible individually, but also collectively in the community, society, and nation. There is a hard struggle for life by all kinds of living entities, and the Vedas say that this is quite natural. The living being is eternal by nature, but due to his bondage in material existence, he has to change his body over and over. This process is called the transmigration of the soul, and this transmigration is due to karma bandhana. Or bondage to one's work. The living entity has to work for his livelihood because that is the law of material nature. And if he does not act according to his prescribed duties, he transgresses the law of nature and binds himself more and more to the cycle of birth and death. So if we follow the prescribed Isopnisad method for a harmonious life in this material world, all necessities will be there. It would be good, it'll be good for us and it'll be good for the society. Prabhupada has said that if we just try to please Krishna, serve Krishna, everything will come. Everything will be there. There's a prescribed method for living in this material world, and that is the Isopnisad principle. And if we don't follow that principle, it'll be bad for us and it'll be bad for the society as well. It causes disharmony. And here it starts off by saying that no one wants to die. Everyone wants to live as long as he can drag on. No one wants to die. Even the animals don't want to die because it's not our nature. Our nature is sat, eternal. So when we're in a foreign atmosphere, we'll feel some discomfort or some unnatural feeling. But here in the material world, we want to drag on, as Prabhupada says here. But in the Bhagavatam, it says, what is the value of a prolonged life, wasted, inexperienced in this world? Better a moment of full consciousness, because that gives one a start in searching for the supreme, for his supreme interest. And this wanting to live and drag on, it reminds me of the story that Prabhupada tells about a sadhu who's traveling, and on his journey he meets 4 different types of people. First he meets a king's son, a prince, and each time he meets someone he gives them a blessing. So for the king's son, he tells him, Rajaputra Chiram. What?
I only know the English.
Oh, Rajaputra Chiram Jiva. He tells him, you live forever. And then he travels on and he meets the son of a Muni Putra. And to the Muni Putra, he blesses him, Muni Putra Ma Jiva, you don't live. And he goes and he meets a devotee, a Krishna Bhakta. And to the Krishna Bhakta, he blesses him, saying, Sadhavo Jiva Ma, Sadhavo Jiva Va Marava. Either live or die. And then finally he meets a butcher. And to the butcher, he says, Ma Jiva Ma Mara. Don't live and you don't die. And there's a reason for this. For the prince, he's reaping the results of his past pious activities, and he's born into an opulent circumstance. Yet in this situation, he's engaging now in opulent or extravagant sense gratification. And so better that he continues to live, because now he's enjoying the fruits of the activities. And if he dies, then he's going to suffer for his sins that he's performing, his sense gratificatory activities. And the next person was the Muni Putra, the son of the Muni, the Brahmachari. He's performing so many austerities ever since he was young, that he's fasting and following the orders of his guru, that he's bound to have a better life in his next life. But if he continues to live, there's a chance that he might fall down. So better that he dies immediately. Yeah, that's what it said. And then for the Krishna Bhakta, either you live or die. Either way, it doesn't matter, same thing. Here you're serving Krishna, you die, you'll be with Krishna. And then for the butcher, better you don't live and you don't die, because if you continue living, you're going to just continue performing these abominable, simple activities of killing these innocent animals. And then if you die, you're going to suffer for the reactions for these activities. And then as you go on, you're doing more and more and more, and it's going to build up. And so better you don't live and you don't die. So those are the benedictions that were given.
But how can you not live or not die?
Yes, well, it's not exactly, I think it's stressing the point, that it's better you don't live or don't die, just don't do what you're doing. So hopefully that this would cause the butcher to think, why don't I live? Why don't I die? What I'm doing. Maybe
change his lifestyle.
Mm-hmm. Like Narada Muni had the influence on Magrari. Magrari was half killing animals. And due to the association with that great devotee, he had a change of heart. First he told him, he didn't tell him immediately, give it all up, but he told him, don't half kill him, at least kill him all the way. And then he said, how will I make my living? I mean, this is how I've been trained. How can I change? And then just by his association, he had a change of heart. So maybe this butcher will fall into the same category.
At least it'll make him reflect, yeah.
Hopefully. Other life forms are also subject to the cycle of birth and death. But when the living entity attains a human life, he gets a chance to get free from the law of karma. Karma and vikarma are very clearly described in Bhagavad Gita. Actions that are performed in terms of one's prescribed duties, as mentioned in the revealed scriptures, are called karma. Actions that free one from the cycle of birth and death are called akarma. And actions that are performed by the misuse of one's freedom and that direct one to the lower life forms are called vikarma. Of these three types of action, that which frees one from the bondage of karma is preferred by intelligent men. Ordinary men wish to perform good works in order to be recognized and achieve some higher status of life in this world or in heaven. But more advanced men want to be free altogether from the actions and reactions of work. Intelligent men know well that both good and bad works equally bind one to the material miseries. Consequently, they seek that work that will free them from the reactions of both good and bad work. So other life forms are also subject to the cycle of birth and death. Yes, we all are. Out of 8,400,000 species, the humans have the topmost intellectual capacity for exiting the material tabernacle of repeated birth and death. So this purport talks about karma, and those are actions in terms of our prescribed duties. And in conjunction with the revealed scriptures, they're pious activities. They fall under karma kanda in the Vedas. And akarma is what is most recommended here, and that's the Ishavasham principle, where it's actions that free one from this cycle of repeated birth and death. It's not actually inaction, as the word some might think by akarma, but it's actions that free one from repeated action in the material world. And then there's vikarma, and those are actions performed by misuse of one's freedom and that might lead to a lower life. So those are sinful activities. And so we have karma and vikarma, good actions, bad actions. Prabhupada said it's like wet stool, dry stool. It's all stool. Good or bad, it's all bad. It all binds us here to this material world. So the intelligent person recognizes that and dovetails his activities to the Supreme Lord service and performs akarma. So he will become free from this repeated birth and death. And that is the life that one can aspire to live for hundreds of years. That will not bind one to the law of karma. So whether one has all desires or no desires, or desires liberation, one should worship the Supreme Lord if he has this broader intelligence, as recommended in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 3:10. Akama sarvakama va mokshakama udaradi tivrena bhakti yogena yajeta purusham param. A person who has broader intelligence, whether he be full of all material desires, without any material desires, or desiring liberation, must by all means worship the Supreme Whole, the personality of Godhead. And that's one, Prabhupada says that one who has the good intelligent men know well that both good and bad works equally bind him to the material miseries. So, and he will seek out those works that will free him from both good and bad works. So the instructions of the Sri Isopnisad are more elaborately explained in the Bhagavad Gita, sometimes called Gita-upanishad, the cream of all the Upanishads. In Bhagavad Gita 3:9 through 16, the personality of Godhead says that one cannot attain the state of Naishkarmya or akarma without executing the prescribed duties mentioned in Vedic literatures. The Vedas can regulate the working energy of a human being in such a way that one can gradually realize the authority of the Supreme Being. When one realizes the authority of the personality of Godhead, it is to be understood that he has attained the stage of positive knowledge. In this purified stage, the modes of nature, namely goodness, passion, and ignorance, cannot act, and one is enabled to work on the basis of Naishkarmya. Such work does not bind one to the cycle of birth and death. So the Prabhupada has said that we have several Vedic literatures, and the whole thing is summarized in the Bhagavad Gita, and therefore the Bhagavad Gita is known as the Gita-upanishad. It's one of the Upanishads. And at the end of the introduction to the Bhagavad Gita, Srila Prabhupada quotes Adi Shankar Acharya, where he mentions how this Gita-upanishad, or Bhagavad Gita, is the essence of all the Upanishads and is just like a cow. Lord Krishna, who is famous as a cowherd boy, is milking this cow. Arjuna is just like a calf, and learned scholars and pure devotees are to drink the nectarian milk of Bhagavad Gita. And that's from Adi Shankar Acharya's Gita Mahatmya, number 6. It's the essence of all the Upanishads. Just like the cream is the essence of milk. Milk is such an important food. And then when you, if you get it fresh from the farm, there's this nice thick cream on the top. And that is, that's like the tastiest part of the milk. And this Bhagavad Gita is compared to that of all the Vedic literatures. It's like the cream of the crop. It's the essence, the best. And the Bhagavad Gita, it instructs all of us how to rise above the modes and engage in devotional service and ultimately go back to Godhead. Actually, no one has to do anything more than render devotional service to the Lord. This is a nice sentence here. No one has to do anything more than render devotional service to the Lord. However, in the lower stages of life, one cannot immediately adopt the activities of devotional service, nor can one completely stop fruitive work. A conditioned soul is accustomed to working for sense gratification, for his own self-interest, immediate or extended. An ordinary man works for his own self-enjoyment, and when this principle of sense enjoyment is extended to include his society, nation, or humanity in general, it assumes various attractive names such as altruism, socialism, communism, nationalism, humanitarianism, etc. These isms are certainly very attractive forms of karma bandhana, work which binds. But the Vedic instruction of Isopnisad is that if one actually wants to live for any of the above isms, he should make them God-centered. There is no harm in becoming a family man or an altruist, socialist, communist, nationalist, or humanitarian, provided that one executes his activities in relation. Sorry, I lost my spot. There's no harm in becoming a family man, altruist, socialist, communist, nationalist, humanitarian, provided that one executes his activities in relation with Ishavasha, the God-centered conception. So there's nothing more that we have to do than engage in devotional service. But Lord Krishna is so kind and merciful. It's not all or nothing. It's not fully surrender unto me or you'll go to hell. He actually explains that if you just fix your mind upon me, but if you can't do that, he tells Arjuna, he's explaining, then just engage in the regulative principles. And if you can't do that, then cultivate knowledge. And then if you can't do that, then meditate. And if you can't do that, give up the results of your activities. So there's always somewhere that everyone can plug in. The idea is to just add God to our life, to our activities. And that way, all these isms that one may like to identify with, if we just add God to them and they become God-centered, then they'll be perfect and we can make advancement by engaging in these activities. They will no longer be a karma bandhana, binding us to the material world, but they'll be nice karma or akarma and be liberating us from this material world, repeated birth and death. So we should be like Krishna and not condemn, but try to encourage people to engage in whatever level they're at in devotional service. Just add Krishna to their life. Maybe I should ask if there's any questions or comments so far. I'm going to skip something.
Mataji, I have a question on akarma.
Yeah.
So akarma is basically, you briefly mentioned that devotional service, when you are doing it can be considered akarma. But while you are executing devotional service, physical body, at least in my case, is maybe engaged, but mind and consciousness not 100%. So the question is, in such instances, would it still be considered something which is akarmic?
You won't reap the full benefit. Once the question was put to Srila Prabhupada, a devotee asked if a devotee leaves his body while engaging in devotional service, will he go back to Godhead? And Prabhupada answered by, his answer started with, what's that verse? Bhumir na lovayo kamo na buddhir eva chahankara iti yame bina prakriti ashtada. Earth, fire, water, air, ether. These are my energies. He went on to explain how we have the physical body made of these energies and we have the subtle body. And the devotee at first was thinking how Prabhupada wasn't answering the question. But Prabhupada also mentioned how, the false ego, mind, and intelligence, the spirit soul, they're part of Krishna's energies too. So when all of these are engaged in Krishna's service, then that is a karma. But we have to start somewhere. And Prabhupada has said in the Nectar Devotion that if we cannot fix our mind on Krishna, if we fix our mind on our service, that's as good as thinking of Krishna, because the service is meant for Krishna. So if you're engaging in service and you're thinking of your service, that is also devotional service.
Thank you. Thank you, Mataji.
But by continuing to engage in service with the body, ultimately the mind will follow.
But for a monkey like me, it's difficult to stable. So once in a while, yeah, but no, it doesn't stay there. Mind.
Well, Arjuna even said that the mind is more difficult than trying to control the wind. But what did Krishna say? Krishna said by constant practice and detachment. So it's by practice, just like when we're chanting our rounds, the mind goes hither and thither, goes everywhere. But we constantly try to pull it back, it'll get easier and easier. And ultimately, we'll get more of a taste and then we'll want to focus. I mean, it'll be natural.
Thank you. Thank you, Mataji.
Mother Jiva, as a continuation of that question, I don't think Nandagopal has anything to worry about. He's constantly serving. But someone like me who hardly does any service, that's not just the mind, even the body. So, and also like Pyari Prabhu had a friend or a fellow devotee, I think another Prabhupada disciple, who said 50% of his activities were Krishna conscious. Like he made sure that they were directly related to Krishna, and then 50% like non-Krishna conscious activities. But someone like me who hardly does anything, that is kind of scary. And I'm very close to death, in age and everything. So it's kind of scary. So how do you dovetail your everyday activities? Like even when I find I'm cooking for Krishna, I'm cooking pretty much what I want to eat. In other words, I don't want to make an opulent feast because then I have to end up eating it. So I'm doing fruits and simple Spartan food. So I'm thinking, am I really thinking of Krishna, or am I thinking about myself and my diet and what is suitable for me to eat more than what I'm offering to Krishna? So every which way I look at it, I feel I'm not really engaging in devotional service. I'm doing what is best for me, not necessarily what's best for Krishna. So how do you reconcile that?
Well, what you're doing, even though it may appear to be for you, you're dovetailing it by you offering your food. Even if you're cooking what you want, you're dovetailing that activity in Krishna's service. So gradually, you may come to the point, if we continue in this way, we get more purified and purified. Someday, we'll want to cook what Krishna wants. But there's no loss or diminution. Even if we, do 1%, we'll continue on where we leave off. And devotional service isn't just physical activity, although it's important to engage in some physical activity for the Lord, because this body is His too. But also, you can engage the mind. There's 9 processes to devotional service, and not all of them are physical. There's hearing, chanting, praying, worshiping. A lot of them engaging the mind. And just like that Brahmin who was making the sweet rice and he was in meditation, he couldn't do it physically, but mentally he did it. And he touched the pot and he woke up from his meditation and his finger was burnt. We can try to do some services in our mind if we feel like we're not doing enough.
I know my problem is I do it all in the mind and I'm hardly doing anything in person. And so it's very easy to do it in the mind because you can almost just say, okay, I'm thinking I'll do this and I'll do that and I'll do that. And they say the road to hell was paved with good intentions. I mean, I feel I have good intentions, but I feel I'm not, I'm not working up to my intentions. So I always feel I'm falling short and I don't know how to resolve it.
Maji, you've done so much book distribution, cutting up fruits. I've seen you all do it all the time. What are you talking about?
Well, only fruits, not like you doing Shaligram Puja and stitching clothes, and I can go on and on and on. Yours is real service. Mine is all fake service,
Well, that's your humility, but whether we're doing this or that, it's all absolute. We're washing.
Well, I just want all the Vaishnavas to pray for me because some days I'm really, really scared at night. I get chest pains or something, and I feel like if I were to die at this moment, am I ready? And I always answer, I'm not ready at all. So I don't even know where I'm going or what is going to happen to me, and it's very scary. So,
well, that's a good meditation to see if that Vaikuntha Airlines or Goloka Airlines is coming for us. Am I ready to go? Will I be ready to jump and take that opportunity?
I'd like someone who's really ready to explain to me how to get ready.
Yeah, we have to.
Yeah, Mother Jiva, you should give us lessons on how to get ready.
Well, you're doing it, it's not an immediate thing. Like Prabhupada says, we have to be patient,
Buy a set of Bhagavatams and confirm your ticket. Buy a set of Bhagavatam and confirm your ticket.
Right. Bhadra Purnima. Yeah. Everybody wants the easy, but actually it is tapasya. I mean, human life is meant for tapasya, austerities, and we follow the directions of the spiritual master. And some might think that it's not magic, but it is a magical formula. You just follow the order of the spiritual master and you chant your rounds and he'll take you back to Godhead. We have so many stories. We've seen God brothers who've fallen away and because they've done so much service, Prabhupada never forgets. And there's this one devotee, he left and a woman came to the temple and she was asking who Prabhupada is. And they explained and she said, because when my husband passed away, she wasn't a devotee. Maybe he, uncovered devotee. But anyway, she said that when my husband passed away, he said, Prabhupada, you have come. So, and that really touched her. So she visited the temple and inquired who he was and who came to take her husband away at the time of death. And there's more stories like that. Krishna remembers, he's grateful. One of his qualities is grateful. He never forgets the service that devotees have rendered to him, and he reciprocates accordingly. As they surrender, I reward them accordingly.
I think Srila Prabhupada said that in a New York temple. I heard that, and he said it very forcefully. You think Krishna is not not grateful, like not ingrate or something. I don't know the exact word he used. He said, even if you have put a nail in this temple, he remembers. He said,
Oh, wow. Yeah. Yeah. So we just have to try to do as much as we can. We've been dealt this material body. It's not the best, especially we get older and the mind isn't as sharp as you want it to be, but we have to try to make the best use of this bad bargain and engage it. When this COVID is over, everybody's going to be ripped and ready to go, They'll be ready.
Yeah, I think we can start by sincerely and hearingly chanting the holy name, right? I mean, that is something.
That's what the COVID has, pointed us toward. You know, there's so much on Zoom. Everybody is hearing and chanting a lot, and we could try to develop the quality more in what we're doing. Just try to be wrapped in their hearing and think about how we can apply things in our life and how we can be a better person. You know, it's meant for us, all this we're hearing is meant to be taken in and digested and somehow applied in our life and be that example for others, you know, and that will, I think we should try to finish this purport, if you don't mind. We're almost done. The Bhagavad Gita 240 states that God-centered activities are so valuable that just a few of them can save a person from the greatest danger. We talked about that just engaging a little bit can save a person from falling down into lower species. Oh yes, it says that here. The danger of gliding down again into the evolutionary cycle of birth and death. If some way or other a man misses the spiritual opportunity afforded by his human form of life and falls down again into the evolutionary cycle, he must be considered most unfortunate. Due to his defective senses, a foolish man cannot see that this is happening. Consequently, Sri Isopnisad advises us to exert our energy in the spirit of Ishavasya. Being so engaged, we may wish to live for many, many years. Otherwise, a long life in itself has no value. A tree lives for hundreds and perhaps thousands of years, but there is no point in living a long time like trees, or breathing like bellows, or begetting children like hogs and dogs, or eating like a camel. A humble, God-centered life is more valuable than a colossal hoax of a life dedicated to godless altruism or socialism. So the example of hogs, dogs, camels, and asses comes from the Srimad Bhagavatam, where Prabhupada says in the purport, I thought I wrote it down somewhere. Let me find it.
If you're not speaking, can you put yourself on mute, please? Thank you.
I don't know. Anyway, the trees, they live long, appear to have life. They can live for thousands of years. And the bellows, they appear to be breathing. This isn't the kind of life we want. You know, it's like an empty life. But we need a life connected with God. And that gives life meaning. And it produces a harmonious life. And it does good for us. And it does good for society as well. And we don't want to just live like hogs, dogs, camels, and asses. The hog eats indiscriminately all kinds of things. Stool, dog eats stool. I mean, a hog eats stool. And dogs, they're searching after a master, but they don't get rewarded properly. That's the example Prabhupada gives. And they're also very territorial. And a camel, they eat thorns, and this eating the thorns causes their mouth to bleed, and they think this is very tasty. So oftentimes we engage in activities that is pulling us down and down and down. It's like bleeding us. We don't realize what we're doing. But if we get the mercy of a pure devotee, the seer of the truth, he can lift us up from this fallen condition and help us to lead this godless, God-full life, not godless, God-full life. But these altruism, socialism, rather than being a colossal hoax of a life, if one just adds God to it, it becomes spiritual altruism. It can become, you know, spiritual communism, Prabhupada talks about. When altruistic activities are executed in the spirit of Sri Isopnisad, they become a form of karma yoga. Such activities are recommended in Bhagavad Gita 18:5-9, for they guarantee their executor protection from the dangers of sliding down into the evolutionary process of birth and death. Even though such God-centered activities may be half finished, they are still good for the executor because they will guarantee him a human form in his next birth. In this way, one can have another chance to improve his position on the path of liberation. And in this way, aspire to live for hundreds of years. Not everyone should aspire to live for hundreds of years, because by living a long life of unrestricted sense gratification, that binds us to repeated birth and death in this material world. And therefore, that sort of person should not aspire to live for hundreds of years. But
What is that verse that Pyari always quotes? Better a moment of full consciousness, Krishna, right?
what is the value of a prolonged life wasted, inexperienced in this world? Better a moment of full consciousness, because that gives one a start in searching after his supreme interest. Another nice verse is both by rising and by setting, the sun decreases the duration of life of everyone, except one who utilizes the time by discussing topics of the all-good personality of Godhead. Even Lord Chaitanya, he calls out to the townsfolk, you spend your nights uselessly sleeping and your days decorating your bodies. Now just fill your mouths with the transcendental vibration of the holy names, Mukunda, Madhava, Yadava, Hari. You have achieved this rare human body. Don't you care for this gift? If you do not serve the darling of Yashoda now, great sorrow awaits you at death. Each time the sun rises and sets, a day passes and is lost. Then why do you remain idle and refuse to serve the Lord of the heart? Understand this essential fact. Life is temporary and full of all kinds of miseries. So take shelter of the holy name as your only business. Bhaktivinoda Thakur feels that there's nothing greater in all the 14 worlds. There is actually one more purport. In the old version of the Sri Ishopanishad, that purport is not there. It was added later. The Ishopanishad, I believe it appeared in parts in Back to Godhead magazines. Then when it was published in later years, they added another paragraph where it mentions how one can execute God-centered activities is elaborately explained in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu by Srila Rupa Goswami. We have rendered this book into English as the Nectar of Devotion. We recommend this valuable book to all who are interested in performing their activities in the spirit of Sri Ishopanishad. So that is mantra 2. One may aspire to live for hundreds of years if he continuously goes on working in that way. For that sort of work will not bind him to the law of karma. There's no alternative to this way for man. So with creation of the material world, the Lord has given us prescribed work that must be performed. And in the beginning of creation, the Lord of all creatures sent forth generations of men and demigods along with sacrifices for Vishnu, and blessed them by saying, be thou happy by this yajna, sacrifice, because by its performance, it would bestow upon you everything desirable for living happily and achieving liberation. And work done as a sacrifice for Vishnu has to be performed. Otherwise, work causes bondage in this material world. Therefore, O son of Kunti, perform your prescribed duties for his satisfaction. And in that way, you will always remain free from bondage, free from karma bandhana, bondage to this material world. Any comments or questions? We have 2 minutes.
I have a quick question on Vamanadev's story. Can I ask that?
Vamanadev?
Yeah, I listened to something today and I had a question on that.
Oh, yes.
So,
Vamanadev.
Yeah, Aditi and Kashyapa, when Bali Maharaj takes over Indra's heavenly kingdom, Aditi is very disturbed, being the mother of the demigods. And she prays to Lord Vishnu, to help her son, gain back the kingdom. And then, of course, she does meditation according to her guru Kashyapa's instructions. And then Vishnu appears before her and asks her what is it that she's, what, can ask any boon. And then she asks for, I think, for her sons to be restored, to their kingdom. But I was thinking, like, when Vishnu himself is 10, I mean, Kashyapa and Aditi are supposed to be very exalted people. Why would she ask for something material? So I was a little perplexed with that. Yeah.
I know sometimes it's hard to understand. Like, I've read some stories where they're there, they have the darshan of the Lord, and yet they pray to be sent back to where they come from. Say they're like a demigod, but like Kubera, Manigrika,
Yeah.
and Kubera, once they assume their forms, they ask for the blessings to return to their service.
Right, right.
And here they are, right with the Lord. Why would they
Exactly.
go?
I was thinking she could have prayed for Indra to go back to Godhead and not be Indra anymore, or all of her sons to go back to Godhead rather than be reinstated in their opulent position, But actually, towards the end of the story, it's kind of revealed that even though it looked like Lord Vishnu or Vamanadev was taking Indra's side and reinstating his opulence and his position and taking away everything from Bali Maharaj, that actually he was being more favorable towards Bali Maharaj than he was towards Indra,
Right. There's always some lesson, some
Yeah,
blessing.
exactly. So it says it, even though it looked like he was taking Indra's side, he was really being completely more favorable towards his devotee, Bali Maharaj and Prahlad Maharaj, and everyone prays, that you did the right thing in taking away everything from him, And even Vindhyavali, Bali Maharaj's wife, agrees that you did the right thing by taking everything away from us,
Right. She's
So,
so.
but
the end of this
I still could
actually,
not understand why Aditi, when Lord Vishnu is standing before her, asked for her son to be, reinstated into his opulence. And these are people who are like Sutapa and Prishni, and who became Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda,
Yeah.
the same people. So I didn't quite
They're
understand that.
very much like demigods. They're very much in the mode of goodness, and they're very duty bound. Duty bound to their service, and that's like their aim in life. That's what they're supposed to do. And
Sorry, I didn't mean to digress from your topic.
do we have time, Jiva Mataji? Can I say something?
Yes, please. You probably know the story better.
No. I was just gonna say that sometimes, and again, I'm very young and much younger than you and Geeta Mala Mataji. But what I have felt sometimes is that, instead of focusing on the technical details, we have to look at the overall essence or the cream of the pastime. So the cream of the pastime of Vaman Dev's appearance actually is to establish the glory of Bali Maharaj. He was born in a demon family and he conquered the whole world. But when the time came, he went against the instruction of his spiritual master, who was actually a Smartha Brahman, surrendered everything. His wife assisted him, although Shukracharya was trying to find loopholes. Still, he went ahead, surrendered everything, offered his head for the Lord to put his feet on, and at the end, the Lord becomes his servant. The Lord becomes his guard, his Dwarpal. So, and I'll just give one more example. In the Ajamila pastime, we could get caught up in details, like, oh, he was, he lived with the prostitute, he made so many offenses, he committed sinful activities, then how is it that the Vishnu Dutas came? But the essence of that pastime is that if he could, get the mercy of the Lord by calling out to Narayan, how much more mercy can we get by chanting the holy name, and not just at the time of our death, but throughout our life? So I guess sometimes we have to see what is the overall essence of the pastime, and try to go beyond the details of the minute sections in there.
That's a really good point, because the Lord is always trying to glorify his devotees.
Yeah, I was just going to say the
It's like
same
the
thing,
devotees,
Jiva. Yeah.
the devotees are always trying to glorify the Lord. So, and the Lord is always trying to glorify his devotees. And this is how he does it, putting them in these predicaments that, and they pray, let me go on suffering the reactions to my past sins, but all the while offering respects to you within my heart, and Kunti, let these calamities happen again and again. And thank the Lord. So,
and although Aditi prayed for Indra's glory and kingdom and the opulence to be restored, she also had the fortune of being the mother of Lord himself. So, that probably would not happen if she had asked for Indra to go back to Godhead. The Lord appears as her son. I mean,
that is true.
Like, and when he appears, Narsinghdev appears, from the pillar. Varadev comes from Brahma's nostril. There's no time for demigods to come. But when Vamandev comes, everybody visits and they bring gifts, and that's so sweet to read that Brahma is giving Kamandalu and Lord Shiva is giving him gifts, and sages are Brahaspati is giving him something. So it's a very sweet pastime, right? The Lord appears as his child.
yeah, and one purport, Prabhupada says that the Lord descends and displays transcendental pastimes to give the devotees something to talk about. So we talk about it, we try to understand these things, and the devotees derive great bliss and satisfaction conversing and talking about the Lord.
Yeah, I mean, there is always a rhyme and reason in the pastime, like KK, she loved Lord Ram, but she still, but there is a reason why everything happened, in the pastime,
And a warning that we should always be careful. You leave a little gap, like Prabhupada tells the story of the little boy on the train. You're sitting on the train, and if there's a little gap, a little boy may come and sit there. And then soon his grandmother comes, and you scoot over, make room for her. And then another relative comes, and you scoot over. And ultimately, and the whole family ends up there, and you end up on the floor or something, It sneaks in and then just takes over. We just have to be.
So you're saying don't leave gaps for Maya? Is that what you're saying? So she doesn't scoot over and bring
Yeah, a little bit.
All the anarthas in. Yeah.
Sometimes those stories, we learn that we have to be careful, and there's so many lessons to be learned.
Yeah, I know.
And we
but I liked Amrita Kelly's point that she would not have had Vamanadev as her son.
Right, exactly. See, she's analyzed it so thoroughly.
I didn't mean
to discuss it. You get so many points from all over because everyone thinks of it in different ways. So it's good. Very nice.
Did I miss anything?
Oh no. except for
just about everything.
I know.
We had such a busy day, and then the car breaks down, and we had like no time for anything.
You know what happened to the car breaking down? Oh, I bet not told that. We haven't class here.
Yeah, well, we're finished.
Finished? Anyway, the car broke down. You have 4 Indian men who are all really, really smart, trying to figure out what's wrong with the car. And then they called up another Indian man, and he's Googling all these things to try to find out what's wrong with the car. And I go out there and I tell him, just do this. And then he says, yeah, but I get that. Now he got it started because I went out there. Somehow he got it started, but he can't put it in drive. I said, you have your foot on the brake? He said, no. I said, put your foot on the brake. Put his foot on the brake, and he put it in drive, and that was the end. They're really smart, but they don't
maybe a little too smart.
Yeah, simple for the simple. We complicate things.
I guess it was my desire to have them leave, so I got. Anyway, they're really nice devotees. All of them.
It was very, very busy day.
We've been very busy.
Thank you for
So,
tolerating me.
yeah, I don't know if I'm.
We'll see if they come
I
back
missed.
next week. I don't know.
Should we tell the story about how one time my car broke down and I called you and I said it's not starting?
And
Do you remember that?
Then you said what?
It's not starting.
It's not starting. And do you remember that?
No, tell me more.
Then you came to the garage. It was in downtown Hartford, and you looked at it, and of course the car was not starting when you tried. Then you looked at my gas gauge. There was no gas in it. Luckily, I think you had some gas in your car or whatever, truck, and then it started, of course. So see, that was.
Mataji, you're reminding me of that joke. You know, a computer technician got a call from a lady. My computer is not starting, and he asked it, "Is it plugged in?"
Yeah, about the same kind of thing. I have a lot of car pastimes. Pyari might remember a few of them.
Yes.
Do you remember another one? You might remember another one.
You locked the keys inside and it was running once?
Yeah.
I remember that one.
Yeah, this was in wintertime. I come to the bus stop and I'm thinking like, why is only my car clean in the entire parking lot?
It is warm.
It had no snow on it. Every other car had like piles of snow on it.
It was running all day.
I'm thinking like, did somebody clean my car?
And we won't tell them about the time you left your daughter here.
No, that one was slightly different. I told my husband and I were both at the temple, and I told him to take Divya, and he didn't, So I thought he took him, and I left, And then I called you because I said I better check because I can't depend on my husband to have taken her. And when I called you, you said she's still here.
We called you.
Yeah,
Did you call?
You
called me.
Okay. Yeah, you forgot something here.
Nice try, Gita Mala Mataji.
Okay. Nonetheless, I thought my husband had taken her, so at least my defense.
At least you left her at a Hare Krishna temple.
Temple, right? Not somewhere else.
I know.
What's that? What did you say?
Well, when I was a kid, I was at a bar with my father, and I was tired, so I went in the back where they have like parties and stuff, but normally there's no parties, but people rent it. And there's a bench, and I went to sleep on the bench, and then 3 o'clock in the morning when they closed the bartender finds me there.
Oh my God.
And he calls my father, and then my father comes and picks me up. So at least you didn't leave her in a bar.
Okay, now I feel better. Hare Krishna temple.
8:12.
Okay, I don't know what else. Anyway, I missed 90% of the class.
I kind of did
I
too.
guess it was okay.
I know. I wasn't prepared.
What I heard was okay.
Oh,
Okay.
Please accept humble obeisance.
No, we had a nice discussion. Thank you.
Vanchakalpatarubhyascha
Patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namo. Vaishnavam ki jai.
Thank you, Mother Jiva.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Jiva Goswami ki jai.
Jai.
Hare Krishna.